I call Stephen Browning.
Just rise to speak to the Geographical Indications Wine and Spirits Registration Amendment Bill. This is a very, very positive bill, as has been said, and we're very keen to be supporting it. There are some issues around it and things that we should be considering while it proceeds all the same. And I come from Marlborough. I was brought up in Marlborough from the age of 4. Live there currently, and just the other weekend climbed Maimonga, Mount Stokes or Areri and the Outer Sounds, and the area is very, very precious to me, but unfortunately it has also become degraded somewhat as well, and the reason for this bill is part of that. But those names of Marlborough, Awatere, Wairau, Kaikoura, and maybe Kekarengu even, may end up as names that have the protection that will really emphasise the positive features around this industry. I also think that we should be exploring other aspects of the food industry in this as well, and I can think of the Marlborough garlic, for example. That is the best area in New Zealand for growing it. It's very, very well known for that. We've got in Otago, we have such as the apricots. With the apricots, we did actually lose a lot of apricots growing in Marlborough to wine, as the wine has been shown to be maybe more consistently lucrative for landowners in the area. It is positive legislation, but the move for, as someone previously said, the Marlborough Plains, actually the Wairau Plains, into grapes, it has been phenomenal. And through into Awatere Valley, it has been phenomenal. It's a major shift, it's a major economic shift for the region, but our diversity has gone as well, and so has the New Zealand ownership of that land gone as well. Most that will benefit from this are overseas companies that are selling or actually growing but certainly controlling the wine out of our region, and that is an anathema. I just noticed the new stats on overseas ownership, and there's a lot of Chinese money in there, there's a lot of US money in there, and Constellation, one of the US companies, is just moving through some very valuable land that would do much better food production and just converting that. But not only that, they are bringing in their pesticides regimes more and more. We're having some growth in organics in the area, but this good labelling, Marlborough, Awatere, Kaikoura maybe, is likely to be lessened. It is at risk at the moment, and some members in here will have shares in it. At the moment, there will be at least 50% of the surface area that's under viticulture, which is the dominant thing in Marlborough, is herbicide covered. Because in spring, they think they'll warm the ground and get some frost protection by doing that. 50%. In 2007, it was 70% at one stage, and it dipped down with our work on the issue, and then they said, hey, that's sustainable wine growing. There is nothing sustainable when you cover up to 100% in some vineyards, and there's a member in here in the government that had 100% when I was talking about it in 2007. It may well be more than 50% at the moment. I haven't had time to analyse it as fully as I would like. 50% of the surface area under probably carcinogenic regime. And then there's the rest of the pesticides, and the stats around Marlborough, the stats in Hawke's Bay and those areas need to be looked at, because what will Marlborough mean when we ruin our reputation? And it was good to hear Damien O'Connor mentioning the clean green sort of image. What are we doing for brand New Zealand? This stuff will help if we do it right, but it won't help if we wreck that reputation because of what we're doing in terms of the health community and health of the environment. Just this last weekend, I took photos of herbicide-resistant ryegrass. That herbicide resistance started in these vineyards because they were using glyphosate so consistently. A member over here may well laugh, but what do you use next? What did the wine industry want to use? Some of them wanted to use paraquat instead of glyphosate. They've got one tool they're allowed to use occasionally. That resistant ryegrass is now spread to the roadside corridor. And so the local territorial authorities, trying to manage the roadside that they might have done with glyphosate.
Order. The member's wide of the mark on this. I just ask you to come back to the intent of the bill and its content and just focus on that. Stephen Browning.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am totally on focus because my region relies on good branding, and what is happening is bad branding, false branding. There's not going to be anything to be proud about if the region has been put into poor reputation. There are some major problems with the horticulture there. We've got to do it in a genuinely sustainable way if we're going to put our name and somehow protect it. What the hang are we going to protect a name like that for if it's got a bad reputation throughout the world? So we will be voting for this because we see it as positive. But hand in glove with that, we must have those improvements that will protect our brand, protect brand New Zealand, our reputation at the same time. These names will be protected. They are already in a number of labels. But the same government that is promoting this in terms of labels can't get other aspects of food labelling correct at all. Some it hasn't even monitored or enforced since 2003, and consumers have miss out there. So again, this is a positive bill for what its intent is, but let's see the other areas of food labelling have their act cleaned up at the same time. In terms of the other areas that could come under a similar bill, this one is very specific, wine and spirits. There are some problems with that. Fonterra makes some very good mozzarella and other cheeses. Feta is one that I think the Greeks will push back on if we start to go down the registration of geographical indicators. We may actually not be able to use some names, and so that is some of the complexities around that. The wine and spirits is relatively simple, and it's got a long history. It's got a long history in Europe of areas being able to protect their name. So the Green Party will be supporting this bill for those positive things. We just really hope to see that brand New Zealand and brand Marlborough will be protected by some good sustainable practices. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.